Welcome to Hate Clarity. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today we're opening the Akashic Records on healthcare with the focus on the US healthcare system. The questions that we're going to ask are, first, what's the opening message or opening visual? What are the origins of our healthcare system? Like, what were the initial intentions or belief systems around it? How has healthcare evolved over time? Where are we at with progress in healthcare today? How can we stay healthy in our healthcare system when the focus is more on profit over people? What is the future of healthcare? And then what's the most important message we need to know? Okay, first question. What is the opening message or opening visual about US healthcare? They're saying distribution. It's like a distribution center. They're like, it's manufactured and it's manufacturing. It's like a factory of like medication and medicine, production. I don't see any people in what they're showing me. They're showing me like, they're like industrial or like industry. There are literally no people. It's like a factory or distribution center with like all of this, like, let's say product, like medication, pills, whatever. And I just see it's like on this, they're like timeline, distribution. So the opening message is, they're like, it's not for people. Like it's not for other people. It's production. It's mass production. It's, mass production. They're saying for the mass population. They're like, just like a mass distribution center. That is the opening message or opening visual. So we'll see how that plays out in the rest of the reading, or how they might circle back to that. What are the origins of our healthcare system? What are the origins of our healthcare system? They're like priority, like medical professional care, and like they're like at the highest level. So like they're putting a bunch of doctors on pedestals, and it's this like professionalism and this like this brilliance. They're saying the research, the brilliant minds, foundations, charities. They're saying charities, charitable care, community care. And like almost like this elegance to it. They're just saying prioritized, like prioritized care, held its doctors in like high position, like in high regard. We have them on pedestals, doctors and nurses. They're like, it was a noble system, like noble people, noble system, like respected the education, respected the time spent researching. These just brilliant minds, they're like dedicated and devoted to their work. Learning, like there's just so much around. They keep giving me the word elegance, like pride and elegance. And they're just saying a noble system, like the origins of our healthcare system was noble. How has healthcare evolved over time? They said rotted. That's the first choice of words, rotted. How has healthcare evolved over time? Like burned, charred, rotted, like almost like burned it down, like burned it down. They're showing like structures and like people and like almost like this, like a hospital, a building, like caught fire and everything in it burned down. And then what was rebuilt in its place was like this manufactured plastic, they're like not quality foundation, like on top of what was once there. They're just saying it was burned down, like the noble system was burned down to the ground, and in replace is this like manufactured, they're saying like production cycle. It's production cycle. Like any other product in any industry, that this has become about production, cost of production, and keeping production pumping out. It's the same feeling of like the overproduction of things, all the things that we manufacture, and how that's creating so much pollution in the world. They're saying like pollution, population. And again, like there aren't people in this picture. Like I'm not seeing people. So again, how has healthcare evolved over time? They're saying it like rotted. It's rotten. They're saying to its core now, like even like the noble professionalism, it loses its luster fast. It's like they're showing like people going through the schooling to become medical professionals and having high hopes and all the things, this ideal from the past of what that could look like, what being a doctor or a nurse or healthcare professional of any kind, what that looks like. And they're saying the pride is dwindling because as soon, they're saying fast, like fast overwhelm, as soon as you're working in the system, as soon as you get in the system, they're saying, and you look around and you see the truth that it's this manufactured like pollution. You're so disappointed in, there's like regret of like how much money and how much time and how much of your life was spent in your education to get there for this, in this noble system, past noble system, that it can be very disheartening and depressing. They're saying there's a lot of depression in the medical care system for the professionals because we've held on to this idea of this being a noble system, and almost as soon as you kind of get started in the workforce, as soon as you see yourself in the field, there's almost like regret or questioning of just like, they're saying holding on to like the dream of just like, this is why I got into it, but I'm not seeing any of that anywhere. They're just saying like mass production, manufactured. Where are we at with progress in healthcare today? They're like, it's fallen again. It's fallen again. The progress is that the original systems burned down, the manufactured systems built on top of that, these plastic falsehoods, they're calling them. These buildings are just made of plastic. It's not working. And so they're showing almost like symbolically, because this material is, because of the materials, how this system has been rebuilt is like plastic. Think about plastic in the environment and pollution, and like it takes thousands of years to break that thing down. Like it's been manufactured in such a false, insincere, like inauthentic material foundation that it is equivalent to like, well, this time when the reason it's so hard to make the progress is we have to figure out how do we dismantle and burn down the plastic? How do we, because it's like all these like very deep symbolism of just like, well, how do you discard plastic? Do you break it into pieces and recycle it? And then they're just showing like the process of breaking it down. It releases all these fumes in the air that are so toxic. There's like toxicity. So it's like, we recognize that if we want to take down this system, these buildings of the current healthcare system, that it's poisoning to us. Like the backlash, the challenge, the way that it's been built is almost so harmful, just in its existence, that taking it apart can be dangerous. So they're saying, like, use that like metaphorically as like symbolism of just like we're taking down structures, or the structures that are beginning to fall again. It's harder this time because it's inauthentic. It's not as clear cut as materials and the intention and the values and the, belief system, the ideals that were behind the healthcare system when they were first built. Those were more pure. Those were more genuine. And so trying to get smart and navigate, how do we discard of the system now? They're saying it takes time, but the progress is that it's fallen again in our eyes. And now it's getting smart and clever and doing the research of like, well, how do we dismantle this now? And what materials and how we're going to rebuild it this next time. They're kind of saying the third time. Like there was the first, the second around falsehoods and ingenuity, and then this third that needs to be figured out, that we're figuring it out. How can we stay healthy in our healthcare system when the focus is so on profit over people? So how can we navigate the healthcare system the way that it is? They're shaking their heads and they're just kind of like, stay as healthy as possible. And they're showing like a stack of paper, like there's stacks of paper against us. They're stacks, but they're also saying like visualize a stack of paper and a person. And when you look at a stack of paper sitting next to a person, you probably care more about the person than the paper. This is what they're showing me and giving me a sense of. They're saying like people care, community care. And it's like, find a doctor. And they're like, and something about work with me, like work with them, work with me. They're saying level-headed, like being level-headed. They're giving us an idea that like, there are some aspects of this where it's like, sure, there are people who have really bought into this mass production and manufactured way of the healthcare system who are in this system, the professionals. But also consider how miserable and sad and sorrowful and disappointed healthcare professionals are being on that side. And so they're like, personally, like you're gonna get a sense of like your doctor or whatever healthcare professional you're working with, you're gonna get a sense of like if they care for people or not. And they're saying, especially if you can tell that they care, like they're a decent human being. Ask them, like, work with me. Like, how can we figure this out together? Because they're saying like patients and clients can be so quick to judge and blame the practitioner, clearly, and it makes sense. But they're showing one person, like a doctor, and they're showing like a crowd of people behind that person, like glaring at the doctor. There's a lot of pressure. And I'm just getting that like they're miserable. And there's a lot of people behind them, almost like I'm getting like watch over us. And those stacks of paper are not people, but those stacks of paper, they're saying there's a responsibility for them to exist, to kind of share like this data analysis and provide this information to that crowd of people behind that doctor. So I'm getting that like they're kind of locked in it, like they're locked in it too. And so if there can be, and they're saying it's touchy, you know, it's touch and go and like touch base, whatever. Everybody's different. We're all people on either side of this situation. But they're saying like navigating like with your doctor, like what can we really do, like whatever. It's just, it seems like there's so much anger and resentment and like quick to blame, where like the professional, the medical professional will shut down and just get mad and can't do anything, so won't do anything. And so there's a little bit of like, work with me. I feel like they're saying conversations, like we need more conversations. And we're in a pivotal moment. This recent pivotal event is ever changing. And the conversations to be had and overcoming this rotten system, they're like, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take patience, but also to try to have compassion. And they're like, for sure, like you might have a medical professional who is just such an asshole to you. You feel them talking down to you or being like disregarding you, and you have no respect for them. And they're saying, we get that. Like that can happen. It can happen, and it happens a lot. And there's also a reason why they act like that, because they're so fucking miserable because of all those people behind them making their lives miserable, making the work, they're saying like unrewarding, right? Those ideas of what it means to be a medical profession, those ideals, that noble system, it's a crumbled system. And we're holding on to that figure as like this hope, this faith of what it could be based on what it has been. And they're saying, and what it still can be, but this all needs, we need to figure it out, and we need to figure it out together. It's not one-sided, right? So there's like the compassion and the patience on both sides of just like, well, what is this going to be? And like, how are we going to dismantle these falsehoods and make it work and make it right? So again, with them understanding and feeling our pain and suffering within the system, they're saying stay as healthy as possible. And they're saying, you know what that means. Like a lot of us know what it means to be healthy and the things that we can do, but we can't always do it. And sometimes we lack the effort, they're saying, to push ourselves to do those healthy things. But we do know what it means to be a healthy person. They're saying it's very simple. You eat as healthy as you can, what you can afford. You exercise as best you can. And they're saying regularly, every day. And they're like, you take care of yourself. You have good people around you. You have support. You have community. They're like, you rest. You know that recovering is important. Being sick. And they're just like, we know what your world is like. And we know that that's not always easy and it's not always possible. But we also know the things that keep us healthy. And they're just like, everyone's different, and there's a lot of layers to this. And they're just saying conversations are meant to be had, and they need to be had. What is the future of healthcare? Let's fast forward. What is the future of healthcare in America? Oh boy. Fighting. They're saying fight over. Like I see someone like, is protests. I see people like throwing things in the street. What is the future of healthcare? One more time. They're saying fight over it. I'm like reluctant to say what they're saying because, okay, they're giving me a question, so I can say it this way. And what we've learned recently, they're saying violence. Can it solve it? They're like revolutionary acts of like everyday people. I'm seeing that there could be more of this. There can be more of it. And they're saying that sometimes like revolution and revolutionary acts can unfortunately be violent, and this one has so much truth behind it, where it's very hard to be condemned for your anger and resentment because the system is so wrong and it's fake and it's manufactured and there are like no real people in it. So it doesn't make sense. So it could be that there's some more seeds. We have the big seed. There could be some smaller interactions of violence, they're saying, that could cue something to ever change, is the wording that they're saying. So they're not encouraging it, obviously, but they're saying that they're going through history of like revolutions, the everyday people, and like they're like, when you were right, when you were right in your needs as human beings, have your needs met, your basic human rights, basic needs being met. And so they're saying some revolutions were righteous, and this is one of them. So they're just saying be prepared. They're like not something to participate in, but be prepared with what you see, and it would be more beneficial to get the education, do the research, and figure out how to dismantle this structure, this building of this last healthcare system. It's more appropriate and more important to know what you're rebuilding in its place. And it's going to be more human. I see more people. There's more people now. It's not just manufactured like a factory. So it's more people-based. And that's people to people. What you need, what you get, what you pay for, what you get, and figuring that out together with compassion for each other, keeping in mind that some of the people who are in that system are very miserable and don't necessarily want to be in it, don't necessarily know how to get out of it, don't necessarily know what to do. When you invest that much of your time and your money and your life into being a part of something, the regret, the disappointment, they're saying the fear of the unknown, what next, what else can I do after I've spent this amount of my life studying to become this, practicing to become this and becoming this, and then this is what it is so high. So they're just saying person to person, everybody's different. You're going to have your jerks, and you're also going to have people who are just, they're saying burn down, burn down. So the future of healthcare is more people-based, and some other violence might be required for that to kick in, to be taken seriously, they're saying, more seriously. What's the most important message we need to know about the US healthcare system? What's the most important message we need to know about the US healthcare system? They're just like rotten. They're like, you know it. They're like, you know it, we know it, God knows it. God knows it. We all know it. And they're saying freedom. It's to be resolved. There is a resolution. So be prepared, but be in problem-solving mode, not problem-creating mode. The problem has been created. The problem is doing its thing. Be a problem solver. Okay. They're saying it is to be resolved, and it will take your time to do that together. That was a big one. Okay. So that was the Akashic Records on healthcare, with the focus on the US healthcare system. I hope you got something out of that. Let me know how it's resonating for you. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.